Welcome back, everyone. We are streaming live. We are continuing lesson 23. This is part two of lesson 23 from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Oh, we got to do this. Pardon the noise. Pause. All right. I forgot that this plays, auto plays. I'm streaming live directly to YouTube from my Zoom room. So I'm excited about that. I have to make sure I turn that off. Anyways, we are continuing to dive in. If you are not familiar with A Course in Miracles, buckle up, stay if you like at your own risk. But A Course in Miracles teaches a practical thought system that blends psychology and spiritual principles presented through Jesus as a non-dogmatic metaphysical teacher. And its purpose is to help us undo the ego, release fear, and experience greater inner peace through forgiveness. I'm going to say that spiel in the beginning of all the videos. Just, in case you're interested in sticking around. I have a playlist of all of the lessons up till lesson 23 here on the YouTubes from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. I am reading from Kenneth Wapnick's notes. Let me go ahead and show you what book I'm reading from. It's his journey through the workbook of A Course in Miracles. There are 7 different volumes. Underneath all of these videos, I put all of the information, how to purchase these books, where to purchase them, from the, I believe it's the foundation, a foundation for A Course in Miracles. All right, let's dive in. We had an over hour-long reading of part 1 of lesson 23 because Ken, he loves to teach, and that's what I love about him. I am such a student, and his notes from the workbook are the most helpful. I wish I had them when I was going through the workbook for the first time. But as you know, if you're a student of A Course in Miracles, we are always learning something new, okay? Now, we left off lesson 23 when he was quoting from the fact that this world is a witness of your inner state of mind. This world is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. So this world, your world, is the witness, basically it's a reflection of your state of mind. It's the outward picture of an inward condition. So depending on the inward condition of your mind will depend on this outward picture that you see in this 3D world. He says, once again, Jesus refers to the thinking occurring within the ego system, which always reflects some aspect of attack. And so the ego thought system, which we are all on unless we choose a different teacher, as A Course in Miracles states, the Holy Spirit, of which is just one way. Again, A Course in Miracles does not state to be the only way. It says that it is one way. And if it's for you, you'll feel it out. If it's not, that's okay. Don't force yourself. But it just helps us, just like I said in my spiel, it is a blend of the psychological and spiritual principles presented through the metaphysical teacher, Jesus, in a non-dogmatic way. And its purpose, the whole purpose of the Course in Miracles and the workbook is to help us undo the ego thought system based in fear, and release all that fear and experience greater inner peace through forgiveness. Who doesn't want that? I sure do. All right. So once again, Jesus refers to the thinking occurring within the ego system, which always reflects some aspect of attack, because the ego thought system is based on fear. And then when we're afraid, we attack and we defend and all that kind of stuff. So here's an excerpt from the actual workbook of lesson 23. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result? So he's talking about the vision that we see here in this physical world. He says, can it really be called seeing what we see with our physical eyes? Is that true vision? Isn't fantasy a better word for this process of our projection from the inner world out to the outside world? Isn't hallucination a more appropriate term for the result? Fantasy is a psychological term for thoughts that are not real, usually pertaining to bringing you something you want. This means calling upon the ego's trusted ally, specialness. If you want to defend against your guilt, you invoke fantasies of killing someone or attaining vengeance or on another. Or if you feel you are in a state of lack, you indulge fantasies of pleasure, of getting what you want. I'm just going to preface this. The Course in Miracles holds nothing back. It taps on the deepest, darkest, nastiest anger, attack, murderous thoughts. It describes the ego as suspicious at best and vicious at worst. We all have this thought system within us. And the sooner we can admit it, again, don't go looking around and, romanticizing it, but just admit we have attack thoughts. We dream of vengeance, getting back, arguing with people, getting even, anger at people. Although we might not carry it out physically, we're carrying it out in our mind, which is just as bad to our spirit. Yes, the effects are different in this physical world, as if we were to, physically attack someone. But he's saying that we all have this thought system, that we are capable, all of us, of attacking and of murder. And if we shy away from that, and you might, fair enough, I did in the beginning. But when I realized some of the hateful thoughts I could have, they're not me, I have them. And that's from the ego. It's not who I truly am, because think about all the nasty thoughts you've ever had. It's like, don't you feel guilty? That's not who you truly are. In the moment when you're upset with someone, you might feel that. But at the end of the day, if you were in front of that person, would you do that? And some people would still say yes, because they're angry or upset, or they hurt someone they love. They killed someone they love, so they would want to kill them. That's all the ego thought system. So I got off on a tangent. So basically, it says everything in this world, especially hate or special love, comes from a fantasy thought. Thus, the world gives me what I want, a haven in which I can hide from God. And since the world is the effect of a thought of fantasy, it exists in the realm of hallucination and the perceptual counterpart of the mind's delusional thought system of fantasy. A Course says, again, if you are a student, you know this, that this whole experience of this 3D physical world and universe, every single thing in this physical universe, is a projection, is a thought, is a hallucination, is an illusion, a dream-like state, so to speak. And we will wake up from it. Okay? So it says, you see the world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. Okay? So we see ourselves, we see the world that is out here that we've made, but we don't think we made it. Okay? This is denial, discussed in detail later in lesson 136. Quote, sickness is a defense against the truth, end quote, which instructs us that we make up the sickness and then forget we did so. It is another way of saying we are the dreamer of the dream, but have forgotten the dream's source and instead believe the dream is dreaming us. This is a major theme in the text to which we shall return. For now, note these representative statements that can serve as prelude to more extensive discussions to come. Here's an excerpt. This is how all illusions came about. The one who makes them does not see himself as making them, and their reality does not depend on him. Whatever cause they have is something quite apart from him, and what he sees is separate from his mind. He cannot doubt his dream's reality because he does not see the part he plays in making them and making them seem real. You are the dreamer of the world of dreams. No other cause it has, nor ever will. Let us return the dream he gave away unto the dreamer who perceives the dream as separate from himself and done to him. The miracle does not awaken you, but merely shows you who the dreamer is. He, the dreamer, did not see that he was author of the dream and not a figure in the dream. Let that sink in. I'm going to read it again. This is how all illusions come about. The one who makes them does not see himself as making them, and their reality does not depend on him. Whatever cause they have is something quite apart from him. This is what we think. The reality is so, it's apart from me because I'm not responsible for all of this. Whatever cause they have is something apart from him. And you know what? I'm going to read it in as if I'm reading it about us. Okay. So this is how all illusions come about. You make the dream, and it doesn't seem real to you as maker of them, and your reality does not depend on you. Oh, and their reality, the reality of the dreams of what we see, doesn't depend on you. Whatever cause they have is something quite apart from you, and what you see is separate from your mind. You cannot doubt your dream's reality because you do not see the part that you play in making them seem real. Again, you are the dreamer of the world of dreams. No other cause it has, nor ever will. Let us return to the dream he gave away unto the dreamer, who perceives the dream as separate from himself and done to him. The miracle does not awaken you, but merely shows you who the dreamer is, that it's us, that we did not see that we were the author of the dream and not a figure in the dream. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? So that's really what this lesson is about. This is the quote from the lesson. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? Thought is cause. This world is effect. And if we go to the cause, meaning thinking about this differently, the effect is gone. So where is the world if there is no cause, if there is no thought of a world? Ultimately, you cannot be saved from the world because there is no world. You are saved from your belief system that tells you there is a world. This belief system, as I have been saying, rests on the self-accusation we have killed God so we could exist in his place. That is a very strong statement. A Course in Miracles is not very popular, and I understand why. It's and people who, some students who are into it, I certainly was one of them. I didn't realize the magnitude of what it was really teaching at first. As I've been studying it now for, I'm going on my 16th year next year, which by no means makes me any smarter of a student. I will tell you that for sure. Because it's genuinely like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and like the deeper it keeps going. And so anybody who claims to really get it, I would be weary. It's one of those things that's like being a humble student. It's like Buddhism. It's like very non-dual teachings, I feel like just come with that empty cup, that empty rice bowl, like knowing that you don't know. And I think anybody who claims they know something, it's like, if you really knew it, you know what I mean. Anyways, but basically, what was the point of this TED Talk I was just on? It'll come to me, it'll pop up like toast. It'll come back to me. Okay. So you cannot be saved from a world, but you can escape from the cause. Okay. Where is the world? Okay. Ultimately, you cannot be saved from the world because there is no world. You're only saved from your belief system that tells you there is a world. This belief system, as I have been, that's what I was saying. Told you, pop up like toast. That at first I was seeing kind of the very light rainbow butterflies, positive namaste, love and light This is not that. If you really understand what this is saying, it's confronting our deepest, darkest crevices of fear in our own mind and forgiving it and healing it and bringing it to the light. Taking all of the darkness within, knowing we do have darkness within, and bringing it to the light, not bringing this foo-foo light down to our darkness. There's a difference, because I have this note right here. The ego thought system is trained to want to bring God down to this universe, to spiritualize this universe, to make it seem very spiritual and beautiful. Look at this beautiful world. And I get it, right? Just hold on here. Look at this beautiful world that God created. Look at the miracle of life. I get it. We can still think that, but if we really look at it, we all die and decay. Tragedies happen. Genocides, the most horrific things. This is a world of duality. And so whenever people are, and this was me for sure, asking questions about like, what kind of God would create a world like this? And when you can't answer that question, a lot of people just don't believe in God. Like, don't believe in the Bible, don't believe in any of this. Because what the actual poo-poo? Like, if God is all loving and merciful, why would God let these things happen? Well, of course, is saying God would not let these things happen because God has nothing to do with this. This is all our doing, our egos, fear-based, human doing. It's a nightmare is what it really is. And we can look at it another way. And when we are ready to realize that this is a projection of fear at the core of it, yes, there's beautiful moments. We can just go to the oneness that is God. Again, it's a huge lesson to wrap your brain around, and it does not deny that God is real. As a matter of fact, it tells, in my personal opinion, what God really is, all loving, all one. And this is not it. Yes, there's beautiful moments, but not because God made it, but because God is in my mind. I remember I had such a hard time wrapping my brain, and if you're a course student, you'll get this. When I was realizing what the course was saying of like, well, God didn't create this universe, like what the hell? Like, you know, when we talk about, you know, God created this beautiful flower, look at the geometric, like, divinity that's in everything. It's like, that's all ego. I can see God in the flower, but not because God made the flower, not because God is in the flower, but because God is in my mind. I don't have to see God in the face of a child or a baby or a beautiful birth of a new life because God was behind the new life or God created that body or whatever, but because God is in my mind. And I am projecting that love onto said baby, said life, said flower. And that was really hard for me to wrap my brain around because I grew up very traditional, like Christian based, thinking that God created the world, right? And again, you don't have to believe any of this. I always say that because it's a radical thought system, but it's the only one that makes sense to me. It's the only one that makes sense to me, at least. If you're somebody who's questioned a lot, and if you're listening to this lesson 23, clearly you've listened to the other one, so I don't need to explain that to you. But it could be hard, you know? It could be very earth-shattering, and I don't know, it just kind of turns your world upside down, you know? But I said all of that because that sentence that says, you are saved from your belief system that tells you there is a world. This belief system, as I have been saying, rests on the self-accusation we have killed God so we could exist in his place. Like, nobody thinks that they killed God, but the Course is saying that we were at one with God, perfect oneness. And we had a thought, a tiny mad idea, that we could be separate, that we could do it on our own and better. And it was just a moment, a tick of time that never existed. It was just a thought. But the idea, we forgot to laugh at that thought. that mad idea that we could be separate from God. Hence, that's our experience here. It was over in an instant, and there is no time and space, and we know that from, quantum physics and Einstein and all that. Time is, it's an illusion. We are already at home, safe, in one with God, according to A Course. But we're experiencing it through time here. The good, the bad, the duality, everything. But we will wake up to the oneness. But the Course is, saying that we thought we got away with doing our own thing and being God. And we feel really guilty about that, very unconsciously. It might be conscious to you, but very unconsciously. So it's a lot. All right, so he's saying, in the real world, you are literally outside the dream and totally identified with the Holy Spirit's love. See, I love that. In the real world with a capital R, real reality, you are outside of this dream and totally identified with the Holy Spirit's love. You no longer identify with the cause of the world, which is the belief in separation from God. You may appear to be in the world, as Jesus did, but your reality remains outside it. And so for the world has disappeared. And so for you, the world has disappeared. Okay, back to the lesson. Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate. Vision is the Course's term for right-minded or true perception. So vision, he's not, whenever the Course refers to vision with a capital V, is not talking about vision, seeing with our physical eyeballs. It's a way of thinking. Vision is the Course's term for right-minded or true perception, or identifying with the Holy Spirit's thought system of atonement. This refers back to lesson 15, quote, "My thoughts are images I have made," end quote, which talked about the sparks of light that creep up around objects. I explained then that the references to light were originally meant for a friend of Helen's and Bill's. Helen was the woman who dictated this, and Bill Thetford was her partner who typed it for her and helped her bring The Course in Miracles, to being a book. So he says, I explained then that these references to light were originally meant for friends of Helen's and Bill's and not to be taken literally. They are best understood in terms of content, which means we learn to see things differently. This new way of seeing is represented by light. Loveliness can light your images. That's a quote. Loveliness can light your images. Everything in the world now becomes lovely in our light-filled perception because its purpose has been changed. We shall return to the important concept of purpose. Even though our images were made of hate, a stronger word than attack, their purpose is now changed. We look at them in love, despite their origin. As the text says of specialness in an important statement we have already quoted. Such is the Holy Spirit's kind perception of specialness, his use of what you made to heal instead of harm. The purpose of our making the world was to project our individuality and sinful thoughts through projection. That's basically what A Course is saying. The purpose of our making the world was to protect our individuality and sinful thoughts through projection, denying we had it and projecting it out. So it says, with its purpose changed, the world becomes a classroom in which we learn there is no world by reversing the projection. So this is what it's saying. When we go to the cause, we have thoughts and we project out. What he's saying is we can change the purpose of this world. It becomes a classroom, and we learn that this is not real. There is no world by reversing the projection, bringing it in back to the mind that was its source. This lovely thought frees us as its loveliness lights up our vision and everything we see. What do y'all think so far? For you will not be making them alone. Okay, so it says, this is a continuation of the lesson we picked up when it says, loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate, for you will not be making them alone. This is another expression of the principle that minds are joined. Jesus is not speaking of bodily joining of any kind. We will not be making them alone, because when we choose to identify with Jesus, we are making a distinct choice against separation and for unity. That is the meaning of being with Jesus. If he is the Christ, because he is God's one Son, and I join with him in a holy instant, I am the Christ too, along with everyone else. So it's basically saying that there's only one Son of God, and we are all it, but we're just separate into separate fragments, thinking we're individuals. It's like the one ocean metaphor, and there's many waves in the ocean, and the one wave has a lot of fear because it feels like it's separate from all of the rest of the ocean when it is a part of the ocean. And so using that metaphor that we are all from the same ocean, but we are just different little waves, thinking that we are all the same one Son of God, but we think we're just separate identities. And when we realize we're all one, and we don't want to do that, our egos don't want to do that, because then what happens to me? I'll disappear into you. You'll disappear into me. We're not going to be separate. I won't be special. I won't be unique. What will happen to me? There's that great God, what is it? That poem. I'll have to find it. I think I saved it somewhere. Let me see. I think I have it here. I think it's Rumi. Let me see if I have it. Yes. Okay. It says, it is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, the river. The river looks back at the path she has traveled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. That basically is a beautiful metaphor for what A Course in Miracles is saying. As long as we are separate identities, we will be in fear. When we are ready to be one with everyone and everything, which most religions and spiritual teachings teach us, let's be one with our brothers and sisters, love everyone, become one, let's all be united and live in heaven on earth. Let's create. That won't happen until we all become one and see our likenesses, love each other as ourselves. That ain't happening anytime soon. And I don't even say that to be like pessimistic. Think about it. Just in your own individual life. Don't think about other people. Think about you. Are you ready to be at one? Love completely, unconditionally. The people, the groups that you hate the most in this world? If the answer is no, then to the extent that we're unwilling to do that will be the extent things stay the same or get worse. And that's the problem. But think about yourself. I'm going to read this again real quick because I love this. But this is really that's really what this journey is about, becoming one, releasing the fear, and going into that great vast ocean. So as I read this, I want you to imagine that you are this river. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains and the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river, you cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river, you need to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but about becoming the ocean. You are the ocean. You are everything. Some people say you are God. Neville Goddard talks a lot about that. I don't care which either way, but I don't really say that outright because I believe that people have concepts and they could get it twisted. But we are everything. You are all powerful. You are the whole freaking ocean. But right now, you think you are just one river, one separate river. And that's what brings fear. Some rivers are more fearful than others, right? We have to be ready. And that's what this psychological mind training is helping us to realize, that we are not truly separate. This is just an illusion. I'm not this bag of blood and bones. I am not my body. I am not the river. This is a river. When I drop the banks of the river and I just allow myself to expand, I am the ocean. I become one with the ocean, one with everything. But my ego's not ready for that. And so again, back to my original statement, as I was reading, A Course in Miracles teaches a practical thought system. It's a mind training that blends psychology and spiritual principles presented through Jesus as a non-dogmatic metaphysical teacher. And its purpose is to help us undo the ego, undo the river, and release fear and experience greater inner peace through forgiveness, and really just feel more powerful and contented, right? And really be the true creator that we are. I love that poem. I'm glad I found it. All right. So the purpose of our making the world was to protect our individuality, keep our individual rivers, and our sinful thoughts. Sinful meaning wrong, just missing that mark. People, use that term sin as an archery term, as missing the mark. To protect all of that. With its purpose changed, the world becomes a classroom in which we learn that there is no world by reversing that projection and bringing it back to the mind as its source. All right. So this is another expression of the principle that minds are joined. We are all that one ocean. Jesus is not speaking of bodily joining of any kind. We will not be making them alone, because when we choose to identify with Jesus, we are making a distinct choice against separation and for unity. This is the meaning of being with Jesus. If he is the Christ, because he is God's one Son, and I join with him in an holy instant, remembering the truth that we are all one, that this is an illusion, I am the Christ too, along with everyone else. When I choose the unholy instant, since everyone is one with me within the ego thought system as well, I am sending out the message that we are right, that we are separate, and God is wrong. We are not one. We are right in our belief that we are separated. You are right in feeling unfairly treated, and I am right in feeling angry at you. We are thus not alone in experiencing the effects of our wrong-minded or right-minded thoughts, The effects of what we see or Christ's vision, the mind of God's Son is one. Regardless if we think positive or we think negative, we're all affected. And so it's one of those things like, if we all want to live at peace on earth, heaven on earth, whatever, we all have to agree on the same thing. We are only as strong as our weakest link. And so think about some people. This ain't happening anytime soon. But it can happen with us. You know, you can do it and help everybody else along the way just by simply getting right-minded, loving your neighbor as yourself, forgiving the illusion. And that's another, I don't know if it says it in this lesson, but all throughout A Course, it says, forgive your brother, forgive anybody who you're pissed at for what they did not do. Because in reality with a capital R, they didn't really do it. This is a dream. So think about when you're dreaming, which is really hard, especially if you've had trauma or like a terrible thing happen. You're like, it was a fucking dream. Are you serious right now? That's not. And Ken Wapnick is a wonderful teacher saying, do not go around telling yourself or telling other people, like, don't worry about it. You got hit by a car. It's just a dream. Like, be very normal. We think this is very real. So let's not be stupid, like flat out. And it's still in the dream. It's seeming to affect us. So let's not be idiots, with that. Think of the most realist dream you've ever had. And I think I mentioned this in the last video of like, if you have a partner and you dream that they cheated on you and you wake up and you like hit them and they're like, hey, what did I do? You're like, you cheated on me in my dream. And you still really feel that betrayal. It was so real, but it didn't really happen. It was just a dream. Your partner loves you and is committed and would never do that. But in the dream, it seemed real. And it really affected you. Like it takes 20 minutes to wear off. That's how real it felt. That's what A Course in Miracles is saying. This is like the realest dream we've ever had. So much so, we need to do deep mind work to even begin to realize that that's what's happening. It's like Inception at its finest. And most people are not ready for that. Fair enough. Everybody will be. And A Course is, look, everyone's going to get there at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. Because this whole shindig's already over. We're just living it out. And also it goes into like, I don't think A Course does, but a great book by Gary Renard, one of the best authors on books that help you understand A Course in Miracles. If you are a Course student and you do not know, please look up Gary Renard's books, particularly the Disappearance of the Universe trilogy. And he has explained it in a way that really helped me to understand it in a way that I couldn't before. It was just too much. And so, yeah, highly recommend those books. I don't know where I was going. Again, my mind is a little out there today, but we'll come back. We will come back. All right. So basically, whatever we think, wrong-minded or right-minded, the effects of what we see, it affects everyone, not just ourselves. Because again, the subconscious mind, there's only one of us here, doesn't know anyone else. So whatever you're thinking is affecting you and everyone else, even if you don't tell them. They might not be aware of it, but subconsciously, we're all connected. That one, like Carl Jung, the one collective unconscious, like we are all one. There's only one mind here. There's 8.5 billion brains, but there's only one mind. This principle has nothing to do with this world. Okay, this principle has nothing to do with this world or with our experience here, but only with our mind's thoughts, of which there are two, both perfectly unified. The ego's thought of separation that we share as one son, and the atonement correction for that thought which we also share. We are either in a thought system of fear, the ego, or the thought system of love of the Holy Spirit. One or the other, period. Anytime we are not at peace, loving, forgiving, holding this dream lightly, still being here, but not taking it serious and not making a joke of it either or other people's pain. When we know the truth and we're still could be normal here, sharing and teaching love through our actions, we're at peace. Anytime we're disturbed in any way, we're in the ego thought system. There's fear somewhere. Because fear, think of fear as an umbrella. Underneath fear, worry, anxiety, control, hate, anger, rage, annoyance, frustration. Like anytime we are disturbed, we're not at peace. We're in the thought system of the ego of fear. Because the entire thought system of the ego is based on fear. Sin, guilt, and fear. We sinned. We had a really bad thought that we could be separate from God. We feel so guilty that we thought that. Oh my God, we're such a terrible person. And guilt. We feel so guilty. We're going to be punished. We're going to get in big fat trouble. So we are running. We are denying. We didn't do anything. It's like a little kid. We are like little children. We think we made a big fat boo-boo. Think about if you have kids and your kid did something like broke a vase and is so afraid to tell you, and you saw it like on the camera, on the Ring camera or something, and you're like, honey, did you break that vase? No, I didn't, because the kid feels so terrible, but you know the kid did it. And you're like, honey, I love you. It's just a vase. Jesus, I'm glad you're safe. Like that's what A Course is saying God is doing to us. Like you had a thought, it's not real. You can't be separate. Don't think you are. It's okay. You can never be separate from me. You are one with me. I love you. You are my child. You have everything. There's nothing you could think or do or seemingly do that can ever separate you from me. But we think we have done that. And that is why we feel terrible. We feel like we're going to be punished. And that is why a lot of, like, is it the Old Testament or other religions, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, think that God is like punishing. There is this new sweatshirt I have been seeing all week. It says essentials, fear God, or fear of God. That is radical. The fear of God, being afraid of God, the wrath of God, God is going to strike you down. What kind of God do you believe in? Let's be real. A punishing God, God of vengeance, like that is like Stephen King novel crap. And if you're listening to this, I know you don't, because you wouldn't be this far, but like, doesn't that drive you wild? I remember I had some family members married into the family, not direct bloodline, but like they were Bible cuckoos, and would like weaponize the Bible and spew so much hate. And I had like religious trauma. And that is why at first, especially when I was into A Course in Miracles, like when they're talking about Jesus, I'm like, oh no, we don't do that. We don't do that. Those Jesus freaks, they're weirdos. But as you realize, like that is not who Jesus was as like the metaphysical teacher. Jesus did not start Christianity. You know what I mean? Like the religion was based on and took his teachings all kinds of sideways when you really look at it. Anyways, I'm not here to debate that. That's just my theory and my experience. You can have your own. Anywho, okay, so it says we're either in a thought system of fear or of love. In the text, Jesus says that vision or judgment are our choice, but not both of them. Vision sees us all as one, reflected in this world through sharing a common purpose. Judgment sees guilt over the sin of murdering God, so we could exist separately. And because of this guilt, we try continually to kill another, fulfilling the ego's principle of one or the other. We thus have the power to reinforce our decision for the ego, or to remind each other there is another choice to be made. Yeah, the ego has kill or be killed, dog eat dog, competitive, fearful, like scarcity, lack. If you have, I'm without. If I take it, you have less. It's the opposite of abundance. That's the ego thought system. Either you die or I die. Both of us can't survive. Ultimately, only one of us can be the winner. It's just crazy. Yeah, the ego thought system is the principle of one or the other. We thus have the power to reinforce our decision for the ego or to remind each other there is another choice to be made. Paragraph 5 is the principal source of the 3 steps of forgiveness I have taught for so many years. Okay, Ken is talking about this right here. The idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. Don't you love that? So the idea from lesson 23 introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. The cause of this world can be changed. This change requires, first, that the cause be identified and then let go so that it can be replaced. We can't fix anything if we first don't find the cause, the source of the problem. And if we're unwilling to look at the source, like, no, Carly, you're nuts, and all you Course in Miracles people are crazy. God created this earth. It's not coming from our minds. You're going to hell. Fair enough. But if you really think, like, again, I'm not here to change anyone's mind, but like, in my experience, having been raised with that traditional Christian teaching of God created the universe, there comes a point when bad things happen, people die, unfair things happen, people are with disabilities, get cancer, good people die. It's like, and then we have these very hallmark slap-on sticker statements of like, oh, it was just God's plan. God needed another angel in heaven. That person needed to learn a lesson. That's why they have one leg. Or they got cancer because they're here to bear their cross. Or we're like, what kind of God? Would you ever do that to your child? And if you wouldn't, do you think God would? This ultimate loving God that we so-called believe in? Like, what? Ooh, you know what? There was, and I'll read this. This is turning into like an epic podcast at this point. Okay, we're almost done. But the book that I mentioned before, The Disappearance of the Universe, there are, in that book, what are they called? Masters? What is it called when they're not enlightened masters? Anyways, talking about this specific idea that, especially in the world of personal development and manifestation, which I love and I'm a part of, y'all, but the idea, and Abraham Hicks, I love Abraham Hicks, but there's a couple things that I don't agree with, or Bashar, I love Bashar. I don't know if he teaches this, but basically other teachers similar to that, Dolores Cannon too, love Dolores Cannon, but they talk about how we are here because God wanted to experience himself through duality. Everything was so perfect and God just wanted to know the bad so that the good contrast. That we are all individually here so that so we can have contrast and know how good it is. And God just wanted to know what contrast was because things were good, but we don't know how good it is until we experience bad. Okay, they talk about this in, I think, The Disappearance of the Universe. And this is the notes that I got. Okay, it says, from the perspective of the disappearance of the universe, Persa, is it an enlightened master? Anyways, she's very blunt about how absurd that the popular spiritual idea is that God incarnated as humans in order to experience himself, enjoy contrast, or appreciate bliss more fully. What Persa says, okay, Persa dismantles this belief by pointing out that it subtly projects human psychology onto God, which A Course in Miracles repeatedly warns against. The ego invents a God who needs something, lacking something, or must learn something. That alone tells us the idea cannot be true because God does not lack. God is the all. God is omnipotent, the Alpha and the Omega. God does not need to learn anything, experience anything, have contrast, does not lack anything. Her argument goes something like this in essence, not a direct quote. God is perfect, whole, complete, and eternally blissful. Nothing is missing. Nothing is unknown. Nothing can be added. So the idea that God would create pain, terror, sickness, death, and separation in order to experience contrast is just wrong, and it's nonsensical. Persa uses the analogy that is really meant to like shock value, right? It's basically, in effect, she says, why would someone who is in constant, unimaginable bliss suddenly decide to shoot themselves so they could understand pain, just so the bliss would feel better afterward? And I think she even says that would make God an idiot, and God is not an idiot. I mean, anybody would be an idiot. Picture you having the best day of your entire life. You are on your honeymoon, and you take a big boulder and you hit your partner over the head and say, just for contrast. That's what people are basing their whole metaphysical experience of this world on, and telling them that God did it. The best day of your whole life. And Gary uses like, let's think about sex, like the best orgasm you've ever had, and then just like shoot yourself in the stomach, just so you know, just so that the next time you have an orgasm, it's better. Who would do that? Who? Okay. So that example is meant to stop our mind, that thought system, cold in its tracks. Because if that sounds insane on a human level, which it does, how much more insane would it be to attribute that motivation to God? Outrageous, but nothing surprises me at this point. So from A Course in Miracles perspective, this God wanted to experience himself. Okay, let me start over. Okay, so from A Course in Miracles perspective, this God wanted to, Carla, let's get this right. So from A Course in Miracles perspective, this God wanted to experience himself idea is actually a defense of the ego's thought system, which it is. If suffering is framed as God's plan, then the separation is justified, pain has a divine purpose, forgiveness becomes unnecessary, awakening is delayed. Ken Wapnick, who we're reading, was especially clear about this. He taught that these kinds of beliefs are spiritualized ego stories. Yes, they are. This whole universe is, according to A Course. They make the dream seem meaningful and purposeful instead of what it really is, a mistake to be gently undone. The Course teaches that God does not know suffering because suffering is not real. And that is in the beginning of A Course. People use this quote all the time, and I don't understand why it has any meaning or context in what they continue to talk about. But it says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real, with a capital R, nothing real can ever be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. Like those 3 sentences is what A Course in Miracles says in the beginning. You might have seen it somewhere. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Truly. Therein lies the peace of God. Okay. I have a piece of hair coming down here. Okay. So it says, so the Course teaches God does not know suffering because suffering is not real. God does not learn because God is perfect knowledge. God does not create opposites because heaven has none. Duality is not duality is not a divine experiment. So this universe and duality is not a divine experiment, according to A Course. It's the ego's invention, period. Why this idea is, okay, so why is this idea so attractive to the ego? Persa explains, and Ken emphasizes, that this belief comforts the ego because it makes pain meaningful. And who doesn't want that, right? Again, we're not here to like treat ourselves like ding dong idiots and like point out how stupid we are. It's just to understand how damaging and how painful it can be. Because if life is going good, we don't care. But when life is going bad, and it is for most people, or people are in pain, or they're like grieving the loss of loved ones, it's like, this is liberating. And it feels true. It's the truth for me. You hear, when you know the truth, you know. When you hear the truth, you know it. So it says, why would the ego create all this? Because it makes pain meaningful, it makes the world purposeful, and it makes God responsible for the dream. Again, how many people blame God and are pissed at God when something bad happens in their life or when one of their loved one is tragically taken away? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. But A Course in Miracles is uncompromising here. It says, God did not create this world. God does not need this world. God does not learn from this world. The world is the result of the belief in separation, and the Holy Spirit's only purpose is to use the illusion to undo the illusion, not to justify it. Because again, the Course and Jesus talks to us at the level we're ready to understand. Jesus knows we believe we're in this dream. He does not deny that. And he doesn't say, you stupid idiot, wake up, it's not real. He understands, as we mentioned in the first part one of this video, if you see someone you love having a nightmare, you're not going to go and bitch slap and be like, wake up, you idiot, it's just a dream. You're going to gently be like, shh, okay, it's just a dream. Shh, wake up, it's a nightmare, wake up, and you slowly wake them up. Unless you're an asshole, but so it says, this world is the result of the belief system in separation, and the Holy Spirit's only purpose is to use this illusion to undo it all. He's using it for us, okay? The real purpose, okay, so what is our purpose? Well, what is the real purpose of incarnation according to A Course? Why are we here if it's not for God to, experience himself? Jesus is very clear. We did not come here to experience. We did not come here to learn about contrast. We did not come here to help God know himself. We came here because we believe we left heaven. We stay here, and we stay here only as long as we believe the dream is real. The purpose now is simple and gentle. Forgiveness. Correction of perception. And forgiveness is not like, oh, I forgive you, forgiveness in the world sense. It's like forgiving it, meaning like, it didn't even happen. Oh, silly me, it didn't even happen. So correcting our perception. Remembering what we never actually lost. Persa's sharp humor is a mercy. She is not mocking sincere seekers. She is cutting through a deeply embedded ego myth that keeps people spiritually stuck. And as Ken would say, the moment we stop making the dream meaningful, we become more motivated to wake up. Isn't that fantastic? I love that. All right. And those were some notes that I went down a deep, dark rabbit hole with all of this stuff from Disappearance of the Universe, Ken Wapnick's teachings, and this idea of God wanting to experience himself in duality. And I remember thinking that, but then it didn't make sense. There comes a point where it just doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of people who absolutely throw the baby out with the bathwater, who think religious people who believe in God are idiots. I get what they think, but there's a middle ground. It's like people who don't believe in God at all because this is a shit show and it's ridiculous when you really look at it. And people who blindly have faith and be like, don't question God. How dare you? It's blasphemy to say God didn't create this universe. How about, what if God is one and God is super, super real, but has just nothing to do with this whole universe? This is the universe. This box I'm making. This is the universe. And it's a dream. It's all of an illusion. And God had nothing to do with it. This is all a projection of our ego, crazy mind who think we left heaven. And it's not real. And the moment we decide to wake up from it, boom, we're in one, we're in bliss with God. That sounds just as wild, but it's not as in any way less wild than what we believe now. You know what I mean? It's insane. We don't got to believe in anything. But what makes sense to you? Again, it's a very individual journey. All right. So Ken is saying we first have to identify the cause of our problems, of our pain, of our suffering, and recognize the problem is not what's in the world. My upset is not caused by what my or someone else's body does or does not do to me. The cause rests in a decision made in my mind, that is the first step in forgiveness. That is a whole 5-hour course, that sentence right there. We have to recognize that the problem is not what is in the world. Out here, all of the terrible things that are on social media and on the news and what's happening in our lives and all the tragedies, that's not the problem. I'm not upset because of what's happening out here. I am upset because of what I'm thinking. I'm not upset because of what somebody's done to me or what I've done, what someone else's separate body did to my separate body or my family's body. The problem and the reason, the cause for my upset rests in a decision that I made in my mind that I was separate. That's the first step to forgiveness, according to A Course. Letting go, the second step, means asking Jesus for help to look at my guilt and attack thoughts differently. I realize that as my attack on you was a made-up projection, so was my attack on myself made up too. I remain as God created me. Who I am as God's son has not changed. Letting go thus entails looking at my guilt with the love of Jesus beside me, and then the third step. In the instant in which I ask for Jesus, when I ask Jesus for help in looking, and again, Jesus is just an elder brother, a teacher, one of the teachers, the Course's teacher. You can have any other teacher you want. There's other paths. This is not the only one, like I said. So it says, the instant in which I ask Jesus, my teacher, for help in looking at my guilt, his shining and forgiving light causes the guilt to disappear. My responsibility is only to bring the guilt to him. Any pain, anything that is not love. My only job, if I am not in peace and love, is to say, Jesus, this is how I'm looking at this. I'm willing to see it differently. Take this from me. I hate that person. I think they're stupid idiots and I don't agree with them. I'm aware that I have this thought and I bring it to you. So it says the moment that I ask for Jesus, he shines the light and it disappears. The instant in which I ask Jesus for help in looking at my guilt or any of my attack thoughts, he shines it away. My responsibility is only to bring the guilt to him. The meaning of accepting the atonement for myself. That is the atonement, bringing my thoughts that aren't peaceful to Jesus. It's just willingness, being willing. Willingness is everything. I don't have to get there myself. I don't have to truly think that the person who murdered somebody that I love is an angel baby boo-boo. I just have to say, Jesus, I see this person. I can't see this person as you see them, as God sees them, as a child of God. I hate them and I want to kill them back. Take this from me, please. Help me. See how I'm thinking? Help me see this differently. And you might have to do that over and over and over and you might feel like you never arrive, but it takes the edge off. I'll tell you that much. And that's an extreme example. But I have sat in rooms, teachings of A Course in Miracles. And this gentleman, he was on YouTube. You can look it up. The guy who forgave the murderer in court for murdering his brother. He was live. I had seen the video on YouTube, and then he was live in this room that we were in, this lecture room. And I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, wow, how did you do that? He sat in the courtroom and forgave the man who killed his brother because he's a student of the Course. Again, he mourns the loss. He's still upset, but he understood on a spiritual level after years of, realizing that he was suffering from holding on to this grief and this pain and this grievance and this grudge. And we don't have to get there. We don't. But just be willing. You don't even have to be willing. I like to say twice remove it. I'm willing to be willing. I'm not willing. I'm not willing. I'm willing to be willing. I'm willing to be willing to be willing to be willing maybe some years down the line. Fair enough. Jesus will take it. Little willingness. Isn't it say the faith of a mustard seed? It's like willingness of a mustard seed. Okay, so our only responsibility is bringing the negative guilt, attack thoughts, and accepting the atonement. To briefly summarize these steps. Number 1, I bring back within my mind the guilt I have projected onto you. Number 2, by looking with Jesus, I bring my mind's guilt to him, in which instant, number 3, the guilt is gone, for I have accepted the love and light that was already present, but had been concealed beneath the darkness of my guilt, protected by my attack thoughts. The first two steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. Jesus does the forgiving. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first two steps, you will see that it is so. That's the miracle, the change in perception. It might not take away all of your pain, but it'll take away a lot of it, if not all of it. I'm willing to see them differently. I'm so angry, I'm so upset right now. Please let me see this in a different way because I'm in so much pain. Our job, again, is simply the reflection of the little willingness to bring to Jesus our ego thoughts, those we projected out, wherein we made the world, and those we made up about ourselves. Everything we believe in has already gone. As the passage I quoted earlier states, this world was over long ago. We just believe the world is here, which is why Jesus uses the term hallucination to describe it. We come to realize the truth of the atonement principle by changing our minds about what we were so sure was right. There is an external world. Okay, let me read that again. We come to realize the truth of the atonement principle by changing our minds about what we were so sure was right. We are so sure that there is an external world that victimizes us and others. Moreover, we unconsciously believe this hostile world is a defense against our inner world of guilt that is even more painful. We were wrong about the world outside and the world inside. Besides using it throughout the day, okay, this is back to the lesson. Besides using this lesson throughout the day as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. So if you're on lesson 23, these are the directions. So it says basically 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly to yourself first, and then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. And so, again, you would repeat the lesson, which is lesson 23, which is 100 pages back here because I've already read. Lord. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Then I would sit for a minute and notice every attack thought that I have, any person that crosses my mind any attack thought. What an idiot. She's so stupid. I can't believe they do that. Think of any attack thought that comes to your mind. Let it all come up. It could be towards family members. It's the holidays. Hello. You might be watching this a different time of year, but hate and attack thoughts have no season, my friends. 'Tis the season always for that. But even if you don't think you're an extra saucy person inside, any little judgment, anything that is not love, any annoyance, any attack thought. It's not like, I want to murder you. Like, those aren't just attack thoughts. Don't take it literal. Anything that isn't love. I don't care if you don't like someone's voice, if you're annoyed with the way they keep their desk at work. Those are attack thoughts according to A Course. So let them come up during that minute of practice and just hand them to Jesus or imagine whatever yours. So 5 times, that's today's lesson. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly. Okay, yeah. And then search your mind for any attack thoughts, as many attack thoughts that occur to you. Back to Ken's notes. As I have already discussed, searching your mind is a prominent theme in A Course in Miracles because our attack thoughts are hidden. Part of the training we undergo as students of the workbook of A Course in Miracles, of the Course in Miracles, itself is to allow ourselves to see the heretofore concealed attack thoughts in our minds. So as each one crosses your mind, you say, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about the stupid idiots that cut me off on the freeway. That's how it would go. I'm sure I've verbatim said that in this lesson. So I would notice another one. I can I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about my brother-in-law always complaining. He knows who he is. Hold each attack thought in mind as you say this, and then dismiss that thought and go on to the next one. It's like a spiritual shower. Just admitting that you have these nasty thoughts is liberating. A lot of people want to deny, like, no, I love everybody. I don't have attack thoughts. I love everybody. Like, you ain't full of no one. If you were pure love, you wouldn't be here. You would be an enlightened master and you would not have a body. You would not need this meat suit, because this meat suit literally represents a fear thought of protection and attack that you're separate from God. You would not have a body. You would not be hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth. And I don't think you do, you know? It's about humility. It's the most humbling, freeing thought to know that we're monsters. I mean, we're really not monsters. We're truly children of God, innocent angel babies. This is not who we truly are, but the ego tries to convince us that we are sinful little maggots who need to grovel and beg for God's forgiveness. Does that sound familiar? Hello, religion. That's ass backwards. We are not evil sinners who need to repent. We just need to see it differently and admit that we have these thoughts. They're not who we are. We are not our thoughts. P.S. We have thoughts. But we believe that they are who we are, and we feel really guilty and like we're just horrible, terrible people, and we try to hide it. There's this monstrous gremlin that tries to convince you you are this terrible person. You're not. You're perfect. You're whole. You're everything. You're one with God. All right. These instructions highlight the important process of bringing the darkness of our illusions to the truth of light. These lessons are not meant to be affirmations that simply state the truth. Rather, they are meant to represent the truth, to which we bring our thoughts of attack. Bringing light to illusion merely strengthens the illusion. Ooh, let me read that again. These instructions highlight the importance of bringing the darkness of our illusions to the light of truth. Remember, I mentioned that, but we don't want to do that. We do not want to find our darkness and bring it to the light. We want to bring the light and sprinkle it all over our darkness to make it go away. We don't got to think about our darkness. We'll just bring the light. We'll pray, Jesus, sprinkle around Course in Miracles and incense. No, we have to first admit, yeah, I have these really judgmental, monstrous attack thoughts, and I hate these people. I bring it to the light. So it highlights the importance of the process of bringing our darkness, of our illusions, to the truth of light. These lessons are not meant to be affirmations that simply state the truth. Rather, they are meant to represent the truth to which we bring our thoughts of attack. So I love this, again, this duality of like, there's light, there's dark, there's truth, there's illusion. We are either in this world of illusion, and I think I'm a body, I'm illusion, or I'm living in the truth that I'm one and this isn't really real. Although I'm going to act like I'm real in this world, I'm going to be normal, as Ken would say. But we love illusion. We don't want to know the truth. The truth is not sexy. The truth is not fun. Another one that I had a really hard time with is like, and this is how I kind of spin it, which I think is helpful. I used to say all the time, and I used to believe that my desires come from God. God gave me the desires of my heart. But the ego did. Because God desires nothing. And now, is that supposed to make me hopeless? But this is how I spin it. God will use the desires that the ego gave me to bring me back home, to teach me my lessons of forgiveness to get back home. So my desires, anything here, I can hand over. And I do have this prayer that I say of like, take all of my desires, my ego desires, and use them for you, for your love and for your teaching, and to bring my ass out of this dream. So I don't deny my desires, because a lot of people will try to get rid of their desires. I know that's a Buddhist way of like getting rid of all your desires. But the Course says that's impossible because we're here. Like, don't deny the desires, but just know they're not real. Don't take them serious. But they did not come from God, because God doesn't want anything. God doesn't desire anything. God doesn't even know you're here. You're one with God. This is, again, just a dream. And God has nothing to do with it. That can sound real wild, huh? Okay. These instructions, okay. Yeah, we don't like illusion. I'm sorry, we don't like the truth. We love illusion. We love this game. We love this dream. We don't want to leave this dream, and I don't blame us, because it's scary. What's going to happen? But this is what this is teaching us. All right. Bringing our light to illusion merely strengthens the illusion. So when we bring light to this illusion, we're just strengthening the illusion. When we try to bring God into this world, we're just strengthening this world. On the other hand, bringing this world to God and saying, get rid of this nightmare, that's how it dispels. Bringing illusions to the light is what shines them away. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this as yet, and you are asked at this time only to treat them with the same in today's practice periods. We are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally learn that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. There is no difference between being a victim or a victimizer. Attack is attack is attack. Jesus reiterates that he does not expect us to understand this, let alone identify with, or even believe in it. But he is asking us to practice it, and he tells us precisely how to do so. I love that. Jesus is always reminding us throughout the Course, like, listen, Lindas, I know this is wild. This is so against everything you think, and it's probably going to make you shit your pants. But just, I know that. Don't worry. I'm here with you. Just do what I say. Just be willing. Just for shits and giggles, be willing to see this whole thing differently. Is this world working for you? Is this world working in general? Has it ever worked? When has there ever not been wars? Peace on earth? When, where? With who? With the rise of social media, we are just seeing the ugly underbelly, and it's getting worse. Again, not to like be so nihilistic and negative and depressing, but these messages make me feel, yeah, that makes sense. We're doing this to ourselves. People are nuts. We're insane. The ego is nuts. The ego has one mission: to kill. Period. And we see it all the time. And if not outright with bombs, with our thoughts. Our thoughts are bombs. When was the last time you got upset with someone on the freeway? That's what A Course says. There is no, like, we think that there's levels. We think that shooting someone in broad daylight is worse than calling someone an asshole on the freeway. But Jesus is saying they're all the same. In the dream, they're very different. Captain Obvious there. But ultimately, they're the same. Attack is attack is attack is attack, whatever form it takes. In the dream, it doesn't matter. Ultimately. Isn't this outrageous? So attack is attack is attack. Jesus reiterates that he does not expect us to understand this. All right. As we learn, there is no difference between self-attack, guilt, and attack. We realize that being a victim is the most vicious form of attack possible. Wow, that's a big one. So as we learn, there is no difference between self-attack, feeling guilty, and actual attack. We realize that being a victim is the most vicious form of attack possible. If we see ourselves as victims, it is clear that someone else will pay the price for punishment for our sin. It is the victimized suffering that points the accusing finger at another. Wow. It is the victimized suffering that points the accusing finger at another. Giving up our investment in seeing ourselves as victims is the hardest illusion of all to lose. Our very existence is based on the idea that we are the victims. We did not choose to come to this world. It is our parents who brought us here. We did not choose to have our bodies, personalities, or problems. It was our genes or environment that were the determining factor, so we believe. It is very difficult to accept that seeing yourself at the mercy of forces beyond your control is an attack. Yet this is the point of the lesson. Again, Jesus is not asking us to accept it just yet, but he is asking that we hear his words and try to understand them, and thus include thoughts of victimization in our practice periods. Needless to say, we are still in the early stages of our mind training. That, my friends, was lesson 23. Part 2, we did it. If you're still here, bless your heart. What did you think? Share your thoughts. What is your journey through the workbook of A Course in Miracles teaching you? What are you learning? What are you struggling with? This is not easy. If you want to throw this book out the window, I don't blame you. I certainly did and feel like that at times. But this is, in my opinion, endgame stuff. When I was really just searched out and like pissed off out at all of the theories. This is the only theory, like there has been no other theory of like what this universe is except this. Like that seems right. And as a therapist, right, I realize our psyche, how powerful our mind is. And, quantum physicists are saying that this is a simulation. They call it a simulation, but just interchange that with a dream, as A Course would say. And a lot of it is very similar. I used in part 1 of lesson 23, that gentleman, he was on the Diary of a CEO, and Daniel Hoffman was his name. Daniel Hoffman is a quantum physicist who, as he is being interviewed by Stephen Bartlett, is basically talking about the thought system of A Course in Miracles. He doesn't say it, and I don't think that's what he's talking about. But it's like that missing piece, I think. And he talks about how this is like a simulation. We're rendering it with our thoughts. It's a projection of our own mind and our own thinking. And we are going to say, hell no, I'm responsible for the wars and the genocides. No. But if we really get down to the deep core, if we were put in that situation, we would probably be doing the same things. Seriously. We're all one. It's so easy to judge other people, because each side thinks they're doing the right thing, We all think we're right. We all think we're right. And we see it play out. I mean, hello, politics, Anywho, that was lesson 23. I hope you enjoyed that. That was epic. And you know what? I'm going to have to these lessons only get longer. So I'm going to have to do some short. Oh, this is a short one. Woohoo, that's a short one. All right, lesson 24 coming to you real soon. Lesson 25, we'll continue with this. And again, if you missed any of the previous readings, they're all in the playlist here. And all the information will be below on how to get this book, or more on Ken Wapnick and his teachings. All right.